Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Hog Pod. Over the last couple of weekends, it's been great to see all of the social media platforms finally being flooded with photos and videos of all of us out on our beloved Harley Davidsons. Then back on the road doing what we should be doing. And I know for some that the season never really starts or ends, but for many, this time of year marks the start of a new riding season. For those familiar with the Hog Rally calendar, the opening bash is, of course, the Cider Rally. Hosted by the Bridgewater Hog chapter and supported by Phil Jessup, their dealership principal, this year the Cider Rally will run from May 3rd to May 6th. This rally really seems to be a favourite among the rally goers right across the UK and Ireland. And I'm delighted today to have two guests with us who are and have been long involved with both the chapter and the Cider Rally right from its inception through to what they now are billing as the greatest show on earth. So welcome to the show, Portland, Bill. I know that's not your real name, but we'll come to that. And welcome back to the show, Bridgewater Chapter Director, Moggy. Nice to have you both here.
Thank you very much.
Moggy, if I can start with you. I know way back a couple of seasons ago for us, you joined us to do with Ladies of Harley, and it was quite a specific conversation. So it's nice to have you on just as Moggy, the director. So if you just want to introduce yourself, and for the very few that don't know who you are, because I think you're a legend among the Harley world. If you just sort of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Jill Mogg. Like Kenny said, everybody knows me as Moggy. Myself and my partner Barry joined Bridgewater Chapter back in '96. So end of '97, I joined the committee. And then the year after, I was LOH officer. Then for a couple of years, I remained LOH officer. Then I was assistant director. And then Dave Holden, rest in peace, bless him, left in 2008, and I took over. So this is my 16th year as director now. Absolutely still love what I do. So for my sins, I will be there until I get voted out or kicked out. So whichever. Absolutely love it. So we've just got over 200 members in the chapter. We've got lots planned this year. Obviously, Cider Rally, first rally of the season. So we've still got spaces left. So tickets are £49, accommodation for 3 nights, bed and breakfast, £103. So you get, like I say, bed and breakfast, your chalet. We have 2 live bands every night. Ride outs on the Saturday. We're doing a grand parade into Burnham-on-Sea on the Sunday. Lots of fun and frolics. We have a Ladies of Harley get together in the afternoon, cocktails, silly hair, or whatever you want to wear, really. So if you go onto our website, www.bridgewaterhog.co.uk, and there'll be a section that says Cider Rally, so you can book your tickets there. I think there's only twins and some triples left, and a couple doubles. So if you fancy it, go on there, book your tickets. You need to book by the 1st of April to guarantee a T-shirt and goodie bag. So you get a T-shirt and some other little goodies. So make sure you book by the 1st of April.
The T-shirt is always the clincher, isn't it? Doesn't matter which dealership you go to, probably anywhere in the world, actually. I've said this before on the show. Some of the finest machines on the planet are parked right around everyone on the showroom floor, and everyone's crowded around the T-shirt section. So, no, absolutely. Am I right in thinking that it's back at Pontin, Sands Bay?
Yeah, Sands Bay. So this is we went there. I mean, Portland's going to sort of say a bit in a minute, but we went there in 2003. So this is, 21 years we've been there now, and they are brilliant. They just let us get on with it. They're there if we need anything. It's a really good site. So you get there, you're soaking wet if you've had a wet ride. The chalets are warm, they're clean. It's just a really good site to use.
Okay. Well, what you'll see below is links. I'll put them in the description as well. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, there'll be links in the description. Quite a unique opportunity, because ordinarily at this time of the year, if you hadn't had your ticket, you'd be totally stuffed. But you're very fortunate that there is a small window available to get yourself down to the opening bash of the rally season. You might as well start as you mean to go on. Obviously, the Cider Rally's taken up loads of your time at the moment, Jill, but when that's done and dusted, what's the plans for the year for you and the chapter? What are the rallies you're looking at attending, or have you any trips away?
Next weekend, Easter, we're going up to the Ace Cafe, so a few of us are going up for an overnight stay up there. And then the weekend after Cider Rally, we're doing a tour around the Cotswolds. So there's like 26 of us doing that. Then we're doing Great Westerns Rally, the Rumble, that's been changed, so we're doing that one. We are also doing the one at the end of the year, can't think, Circus Maximus Rally up in Llangollen. So we're doing
Yes, I'll see you there. I'll
see
you there for that one.
See you there. You can buy us a beer, Kenny. Yeah. And then just sort of like we do a ride the 2nd and 4th Sunday of every month. So all the road captains are busy. Well, I think that's all planned now. So 2 ride outs a month, and then we do the odd breakfast Saturday meet up. So we'll find somewhere for breakfast. People just go there, and then we meet up when we're there. So there's lots planned for this year. So if anybody wants to join us, they can join online. Anyone that's local, or you can join more than one chapter. So just go online, and you can book online. It explains what you've got to do.
And what about Europe? Have you any plans to go across into Europe this year?
Yeah, there is a group going to Italy. Kev Dagger, he's our head road captain, so he's taking a group of people over there. Like you say, we can't do it all. Not enough holiday, not enough money.
I refer to it as Europe because I know that I can't pronounce the name of the place this is in Italy. It's Senigallia. Yeah, I will absolutely not remember that. So I'll just continue to refer to it as would your chapter, I think there's about 16 or 17 chapters involved in the Standing with Giants project. Are you guys involved in that? Or?
Yeah, so our safety officer, Mike Akehurst, he's organised a trip. So I think we've probably got 12 or 14 of us going up for that. Yep, so there'll be a few of us there. That looks really good. It's going to be a good trip.
Yeah. Is that for the UK leg, or are you going across? Is any of those bikes going across as well?
No, we're just doing the UK section.
Portland Bill. So, or certainly as you were introduced to me as Portland Bill. I know that's not actually your real name, is it?
No, I'm really a Robert. But way back when I joined the chapter, our director was a guy called John Hart then. And I'd met him at one event and got chatting to him for a short time. The second event I went to, I saw him walking towards me and thought, I've remembered his name. He was John Hart. So I said, John Hart, and held out a hand. He said, the bloke from, and I said, from Portland. He said, Portland Bill, that's right. And we walked up to the top to where the main tent was, and he introduced me to everybody as Portland Bill, saying, this is Portland Bill, this is Phil, the road captain, this is Jane, the tea lady. And the name just stuck, and 30-odd years later, I'm still Portland Bill.
Yeah, Portland Bill, that was never going to shift, was it?
No.
That's got super glue on that one. So I believe that you have been involved with Bridgewater and certainly the Cider Rally for a good number of years. So I was wondering if you would take us down memory lane and take us back to the origins as you remember the Cider Rally to start with.
Yeah, I mean, it was, early days of the chapter, really. When I joined, it was 1993. So the chapter had only been running for nearly 4 years. And the Cider Rally had just become established by then. They'd had a small party at Watchet Harbour, like a camping weekend with friends, as a sort of first attempt at a rally of any kind. That proved very successful, and they moved from Watchet Harbour up to a small site called St Aldry's Bay. And it's an old, literally an old styly 1930s holiday camp, a bit like the Heidi High TV series to look at with the chalets and what have you. But it was ideal for our needs because people could park their bikes right outside, and we had all the facilities we needed, plus a good building with dance floor and everything you could wish for. So the cider rally became established then, and that would have been around 93, 94. I joined the club in 93, but I was a bit broke on the money front, so didn't actually do a cider rally until 95. So it had been running for a couple of years at St Audrey's Bay when I got there. So for me, it was something of a baptism of fire because those in the know knew what to do, and we were issued with platform brushes to go up the drive and brush the gravel off the road because of the steep hill. So having had a quick troop up and down the hill, we were in the site, and that was it for the weekend. And it was like our own little Harley village. It was just a great weekend with a lot of great friends and a lot of great times. The sad thing was, being a victim of its own success, we outgrew the site, and they wanted to modernise the site. So they were taking out the rows of high chalets and putting in big static vans, which worked for families, but didn't work so well with bikers when you're coming in twos and singles. So we had to move somewhere else. So a few years later, we moved to Barton Hall, which is down in Torquay, which is like a 3D adult adventure place where they take groups of school kids and give them an outdoor weekend. And that was good, except, again, we had a lot of rooms that were dormitory-style accommodation, which was fun the first year, but by the second year there, people were thinking, we'd like a room of our own, not to be sharing with 6 other snoring guys. So it wasn't working very well. And that was when we discovered the joy of Pontins up in Weston-super-Mare, which for us was a real breakthrough because it meant we could move back into Somerset. The site was checked out by our committee people, and we couldn't believe our luck. You know, we had this nice restaurant, a decent dance floor, all this accommodation that was nice concrete chalets, not the wooden ones like we've been used to at St Audrey's. But we had good road access, plenty of places to do ride-outs too. And it's just been success to success working there. The site people have been great. We got on so well with them in the early days after a slightly unfriendly start when they weren't quite sure what to expect when we all sat down together.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture a load of Harley Davidson's badge and patch covered cut beards saying, "We want to come here." And of course, they're probably not we're not the usual type of people that would take over those types of places.
No, I think it was a bit of a culture shock for them. The manager at the time was a guy called Gordon, who's sadly no longer with us now, God rest him. But he was a great guy. And I remember going into that room because I was head row captain then and on the committee. So we had to sit down in this room with all of our people one side of this horseshoe of desks and his people the other side. And he sat in the middle. We sat down, opened our folders, ready to do battle on this, what we wanted from the site. And Gordon looked us up and down a little and then whispered loudly, "There's more of them than there is of us. Go and find some more people." So we all laughed, and that broke the ice. And it was a great working relationship from then on. I think it was after year one, we'd gone there, we'd had the rally. They'd naturally been nervous because, as you say, a whole gang of bikers turning up. Is there going to be anything left in the morning? But they couldn't believe how well behaved we were. And we cleared the place when we'd finished. It was duster clean. The chalets were in good order. And I think there was one glass broken and someone had actually offered to pay for it. And the bar manager had just laughed at them and said, "Forget it."
Yeah, I think the whole 20, it would be like 21 years since we've been there. We've never had any trouble whatsoever. It's just been brilliant. No one's ever sort of kicked off or played up. It's just, it's been really good.
Yeah, people are just there to, come around, get around their friends, have a good time, enjoy themselves. There's nothing to prove. We're all of an age where we know what we're doing. And it's being the first rally of the season, it's a huge social catch-up because a lot of us haven't seen each other for perhaps, 3, 5, 6 months maybe, back in September at the last event. So we're getting there in the end of April, beginning of May. And it's, "Hey, how are you? How was Christmas for you?" And it's great to catch up with so many friends and so many good faces.
It must have a very reunion feel around it. As I said in the introduction, there are many, many people that ride all year round, even on Harleys, and they're obviously very, very strict and they wash them, keep them in good order over the winter period. But for many, there is a season that starts and then there's one that ends. And you guys being the opening bash, it must have that very reunion feel around it.
Yeah,
it does. And it's something of a responsibility for us to sort of set things off on the right foot. And we're always anxious when we do a rally that we've booked the right bands, we've got the right feel. We squeeze the site every year on price and on what we can get for our money, which is great. They're so accommodating there; it's just unreal. And the restaurant is a buffet style food for breakfast and evening meals. You can eat yourself senseless if you want to. There's no restrictions like that. It's not called en bleu cooking, but if you want posh, you can go out to eat. There's no pressure there. But if you're on site, you can have a beer in the afternoon and think, I don't have to go out to eat. The restaurant's open later. We're on site. We can enjoy ourselves, kick back and relax. And that's the name of the game, really.
Is it a complete takeover? As in, it's just you guys. You don't have Tim and Sally showing up with little 3-year-old Ben going.
No. So when we get there some of the committee and some of the helpers, we get there on the Thursday afternoon. So it's like an adult site only, and it's the majority is sort of like old age pensioners, sort of like probably from 70 to 90. Probably.
Okay.
So when we get there, it's usually the same people that are there the weekend before or the week before. So they're waiting for us to come. And a couple of years ago, it was somebody's 90th birthday. So we took her out on the back of the bike. So it's almost like they wait for us to come. They go and look at the bikes, like, oh, can we have a ride? And we're sort of pretty accommodating at taking. We have to sort of like lift the old ladies on the back and take them around the block. And
we cause quite a spectacle when we arrive here on a Thursday, because as Moggy says, there's a lot of the oldies there having their last day before we move in. And I think there's this glimmer in the eye of some of them thinking, could we just stay a couple of extra days and enjoy it? Because these guys look like they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we have security. So it's we have Stephen, Marion Bayliss. They've done our security. They used to be chapter members and they moved up country, sold their Harleys, but they still do the security for us. And they are worth their weight in gold. They are, priceless.
We have complete autonomy on the site, don't we? And so it's only our people in. People have their wristbands and their bikes banded, so there's a nice level of security. It gives people a peace of mind feel, and the public aren't allowed in. It's as simple as that. We have a footpath that we reroute temporarily. It's been well organised over a number of years, so there's a nice sense of secure nature there about it. That Harley village I mentioned earlier becomes for that weekend.
So obviously going back in the day where you mentioned having a Harley village, but on a much smaller scale, would you say you've achieved the same thing now, but on this much bigger scale at Pontins?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, originally it was on a small scale. It was a small site, but it's transitioned well. We haven't outgrown ourselves, but we've grown into the site, and that's been good.
So you were saying there, obviously, as you arrive, it caused a bit of a spectacle. I think it's the same wherever you get a large group of Harley Davidsons. I mean, obviously St. Patrick's weekend, which is big everywhere, but across over here, as you can well imagine, it's absolutely massive. And the Waterford chapter, and I'm sure the Dublin chapter are involved as well, leading a procession through Irish streets, and people are lining the streets to see Harley Davidsons, don't they? Do you have during your cider rally, would you have I know you're saying it's closed to the public, but would you have like an open day ride out, or where people can come and admire the bikes, or do you clamp it all down?
No, so on the Sunday we do a ride into Burnham-on-Sea, so it's like a grand parade. It's not far. It's probably only about 40 minutes to get to Burnham-on-Sea, but we advertise in all the shops in Burnham that we're coming. We didn't go there last year. We came to Riders, but the year before we did have quite a few. They lined the streets. They've got a tiny little high street that if you make some noise through it, it echoes, and it's a really good little spot. And then we just park up along the seafront. So we should get to Burnham-on-Sea probably between 11:30 and 11:45. So anybody can come and watch us come in, and they sort of come and look at the bikes. So that's on the Sunday.
I see on your cup, Portland, you've at the top there, you've a life member. So how many years have you actually been involved in Hog?
Since 93, so 31 years. 31 years, I believe that is now, I joined, I wasn't sure if I was really a club person. And in those early days, I went to the New Forest chapter first. I went to a couple of meetings. I met some nice people now, but at the time, I just obviously picked the wrong nights, and they were discussing taking the yacht out from Florida, and I was standing there thinking, I've saved some money. I'm changing my oil this weekend. It was a different league. But having said that, I came to Riders where I bought the bike and met a couple of the guys here in the car park chatting. And they said, "Oh, no, we're going for a ride to Lyme Regis tomorrow." And I said, "Oh, near my neck of the woods. Come for a ride with us," he said. "There's no pressure to join, just see if you like us." So after a bit of toing and froing, I did a ride down with them one Sunday. Then I came back here and bumped into another guy who was a membership man at the time. And he thrust a form into my hand and said, "Fill that in, we'll know where you are and you can find out where we're going each weekend." And yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. So, and when did you become a Life member?
Oh gosh, that's going back a few years. There was a deal that ran where you could get a cheap Life membership if you'd been in 5 or more years, I think it was. Our director at the time, Dave Holden, God rest him, he messaged me and said, "Have you seen this offer?" And I said, "Well, no, didn't realise it was there." But I'd been in for 6 years by then, so rang Hog UK and they said, "Yeah, we can just tick a box, send us some money and you're in." So I've been a Life member since then, and I think that must have been around about 2001, as memory serves.
Right. So probably very good value for money then.
Oh yeah, I've really cashed in on that one.
I think they stopped doing it after that year because I think so many people took them up on it. I think they decided that it was probably the wrong decision and didn't do it the next year.
That's right. Yeah. But I mean, if I was still paying, annual subscription for Hog as well as the chapter, I'd pay it with a smile every year because for me, it's a massive social scene, a huge support scene. I went through personal trauma recently of losing my wife suddenly, and I've got some brothers at home, my own brothers, that have been great. I wouldn't be without them. But the support I had from the chapter is just, it's just been hard to describe how many people have messaged, phoned, texted. My Facebook lights up every morning with people messaging me. Even today, I'm finishing this and then visiting a friend on the way home from the very same reason. So, yeah, I wouldn't be without the chapter now. It's just been a lifesaver.
Yeah, we covered it on the very first episode that we did back in season 1, episode 1. We called it "To Be or Not to Be a Hog Member," and here we are still having, frequently having, or I read or have the conversation of, I love the chapters, but I begrudge paying Hog, and people are very quick to write that down in the Facebook groups, sort of putting down the membership cost. And for me personally, as you said there, Portland, even if I wasn't to be physically gaining anything from Hog, which I do believe we do, I would happily pay it with a smile as well, because I would just see it as an additional payment to be in the chapter. I'm sure. I've certainly had support from within the chapter over even as recently as the last 6 months, where they've 2 or 3 people sort of put a bit of a life ring around me, to deal with a couple of things. And I'm sure, obviously, I'm sorry to hear that you lost your wife, and it's nice to hear that you also got that support. Going right back to the start of Hog, or your journey with Hog, have you seen many changes over the years? And is it a totally different picture to how it was when you first started?
I wouldn't say it's a totally different picture. No, Hog is an evolving entity. When I joined, there weren't that many Harleys on the road, and the only time you saw a group of Harleys was at a Hog event or at a dealership. And I think the chapter had around 60 to 100 members when I joined. It was very low numbers then. And we had, around about 30 or 40 active people that were always busy. These days, we've got around 200 plus members, and we've got probably half that amount, if not more, that are active members. Not on every event, certainly, but I go to as many ride-outs as I can do and as many social things I can do. And the number of people I see that keep on coming back, because obviously we're doing something right, because they keep turning up. As soon as there's an event announced, you can see getting the hits on it and people want to go to it. It's never unpopular. And I think that's been evident from the beginning, that people wanted something, some sort of camaraderie based around the Harley ownership. And the Harley Owners Group gives us that, without the pressure of perhaps a side patch or a back patch club, which can be so disciplined and so demanding. the Hog gives you this freedom ticket of being able to do as much as some of those clubs do. But if you can't make it one weekend, you can just miss out. And that's simple. People do miss it when you're not there. If you miss an event, people say to me, "Oh, you never came to the ride on Tuesday." I said, "No, it was a weekday ride. I had something on." So people genuinely like to see you there, and you have the option. So it's a really good idea.
Before this episode recorded, I asked you if you'd be able to forward on some pictures from, across the your journey with Hog and the chapter, and I was absolutely made up with this one particular picture, which was the 3 magazines. So I joined Hog, and it was at the time where the magazine was totally done away with. It's all electronic. It's recently, obviously, the Enthusiast has started to be reissued again. But through this podcast, I heard so much about these magazines that used to come, and again, you read in the comments about, "Oh, you don't get the magazines anymore," and it never really made any sense to me. And then I saw the picture that you sent of the 3 fanned out on a cover, and I was like, wow, that is what they're actually talking about. So what's your view on the magazines? Do you miss them? Are you happy enough they're electronic, or would you like to see them back as print, or are they long dead? Or
Well, I think it's a shame that we lost them because they were good magazines. You're absolutely right. We had the 3 to start with, which was Hogtails, that was the UK event, what was happening here. And there was the International magazine that covered America and other countries. And we had Enthusiasts tucked in behind that, which was more the company magazine, new products and what was coming up. But each of those magazines were great. They were never bulky ones, but they were enough to keep you going, especially in the winter when you get a touch of cabin fever. You could look at some sunny bike rides and imagine yourself enjoying that. And it was good. And I'm very old school with magazines and newspapers. I like to have a tangible magazine to sit and read. So the e-magazine for me, I do tend to scroll through a lot of items and not read much of it. Whereas I would have sat down with a cup of coffee and actually read the words printed in a magazine. So, the e-magazine's not too keen on. Would love to see the old ones back again. But I realise there's a cost element involved. And it goes back to what I was saying about it being an evolving thing. People don't tend to buy as many magazines as they used to. You talk to your average Joe and they say, "Yeah, I looked at it on Facebook. I looked on the website. Did you pick up a magazine?" "Oh, no, I didn't buy a magazine." And that's it. It's a modern thing now. We're not reading as many magazines as we used to. It's nice to have Enthusiasts back. And I think there is room for improvement there. It's very company-centered, which is what the original Enthusiast was. And I think to some degree they've lost touch with the riders and people's interests because they've tried to branch out. And I guess they're trying to pull in people from different walks of life, people that are not perhaps dyed-in-the-wool bikers, but have an interest in owning a Harley or riding a Harley. So for them, it's a marketing tool, and I understand that. They are running a business after all. It just seems a shame that there's not as much personal input as there used to be in the old days.
the Hogtails, this was the UK one. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so I tell a lie. Hogtails was the international angle. I think it was just Hog UK was the UK magazine.
And was that a very sort of chapter-based magazine, was it? Like almost like a newsletter?
So. Yeah, but I think we appeared in there one time. Mm-hmm. I think there's an embarrassing photo of myself with a couple of ladies. They used to do a little window on a chapter, and you'd have one of the chapters in the country featured and a few photos of a ride out or gathering. And it gave you a bit of background, which was good for people that perhaps had, shall we say, a divide on where they lived. If they lived in, the Cotswolds and thought, well, I could join Bridgewater or Bristol. Well, this gave them the idea to read about both and find out about both before even talking to them. So it was a good shop window for the chapters, that magazine, yeah.
And did that magazine rely on input from the chapters, or did Hog themselves sort of drag out that information?
No, it was very much a case that Hog would start it, but they took what members would provide. So there was a letters section, there was a techie section, there was things that people could have an input on. But obviously Hog controlled it in a sense of what actually went to print. But
of course,
I never saw that as a problem.
Yeah. When did that stop?
Oh, I couldn't give you a date off the top of my head. It's a few years ago now. First of all, I think we lost Hogtails, and we just had a Hog UK and Enthusiast combined magazine. and then that dropped away, and it just became Enthusiast on its own. So it's gone through a few changes in recent years, but I couldn't tell you which years those were without digging up some history.
The electronic one can actually be a little bit more tailored because, they can tailor what information is going to which part of the world. But then I saw that picture and I was like, yeah, no, okay, I understand it now. Maybe lobby Hog and try and get it back again.
I think that a lot of people have tried to do that, but I think that's the way forward, isn't it? Sort of all online, and you can add links and you can do this, which you can't do in a magazine. But I think a lot of people have tried. But
even with the chapter magazine, we used to print that every month and mail it out to members. But we came to a point where the majority of people were saying, well, I don't read it much, or I just glance at it. So we said, well, the amount of cost and time involved in producing that magazine, would it be better to go to an e-magazine, which got the vote, didn't it? And now we have an e-magazine within the chapter.
Yeah.
And that seems to work. It goes out to people, they read it, and you talk to people, I looked through that, and they did actually look at it. They did actually read it. And we're not then laying out a lot of money every month on printing, postage, and everything else that's attached to it.
Yeah, and I suppose with that mentality on the scale of a chapter, you can imagine the costs involved to Hog doing it on a nationwide or even an international basis.
On the subject of membership, I hear people moaning about the cost of membership, but I still think personally it's a phenomenally cheap deal, because I'm talking to other people, and indeed a pal of mine just recently, who's just rejoined his golf club, and he's paying some eye-watering fees to be a member, then to pay for a game, then to get all the golf bats that he has to use, and the right clothing, the right shoes. It's an end.
Golf bats. There's golf bats. There's going to be people going wild everywhere. They're not bats. They're clubs or cues or whatever they're called.
I think it works out like 52p a week or something ridiculous. And
it's so cheap.
And I just think, sort of like Portland said earlier, you get out of it what you put in. So the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. And if we weren't in Hog, I've sort of visited loads of countries I probably wouldn't have even gone to. So, made really good friends, haven't we? So,
I mean, that's the other thing is outside of the chapter membership, I do have friends all over the world. I've got a friend in New Zealand who emails occasionally. I've got 2 guys in America that I talk to, a guy in Belgium that emails me, a guy in France that emails me almost weekly. Pascal, he's always on the line. Those guys I might never have met had it not been for Hog.
It is, and it's a good leveler. And, what has come out time and time again whenever I speak to people, either on the through the podcast or just generally chatting with them on bikes, that exact same story. If not for Hog, I wouldn't have done X, I wouldn't have done Y, I wouldn't have met so-and-so, I wouldn't have done this. And then, if you could go back to a point where someone didn't join Hog, everything that they had done would be, it's like a sliding door moment, isn't it? That would have been gone. And, I'll stand corrected, but I don't think there's the same connect with, I don't think 2 Suzuki owners bump into each other in a service station and then keep in touch for 30 years. It just doesn't seem to happen. And maybe Harley owners that aren't involved in Hog, maybe they don't. I do genuinely think it's Hog that does create that bond. And equally, I know there's other Harley motorcycle, there's the HDRC GB, and I'm sure they're equally as close to each other. And then of course you've got the other patch clubs that, have a very, very, very tight bond. But as you say, it's £57 a year now. And if you work it out on a weekly basis compared to, membership of any club, it's bottoms, really.
Yeah, it is. And it's, as Mog said, it's, you get out what you put in. You tend to find those that moan about the cost are the ones that you never see. Whereas people who are doing it every weekend or every chance they get, if you mention the cost to them, they just brush it off because they say, well, I pay more for my Sky subscription. And you say, well, that's it. That's what you've got to think about. Yeah. It's a modern ailment, I think, that especially with social media and it being so easy to do it, that people can't wait to hate. And as soon as someone says something bad about something, all your keyboard warriors jump onto it and add their 2 penneth. But if someone says something good about something, it just gets lost in the mist. It's the old adage that bikers have had hanging over them for years, that when we do good, no one remembers. When we do bad, no one forgets.
It's your guys that put on the Cider Rally, but you have a supporting dealership, and we've got Harvey that's joined us we've managed to pinch him for a few minutes to tell us a little bit about an anniversary. So it's the 35th year for your chapter, but the dealership's been going longer, hasn't it? So Harvey, hopefully you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've been a Harley dealer for 40 years, so which is going back to, crikey, nearly the times of the Chevrolet. So yeah, we've done nearly all the engines all the way through. So yeah, vast amount of experience in terms of timing.
And you've been there for some time as well.
26 years, yeah. So yeah, I've worked in the parts department, clothing department, service department, sales department. I've been the parts manager, the clothing and parts manager, and the sales manager. So I've done 2 full laps.
Very good. And what's been your favourite? Which bit's been your favourite bit?
Sales.
Surely selling them.
Yes. Yeah. Sales.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't sell a Harley, do you? You just help them pick it.
Yeah. Pick the colour.
Yeah. Very good. And so you're saying that you've covered all of the engines. We're going to be talking about the newer engine, this Rev Max engine. What's your view on it? And I know that you have a corporate line to tow, but what do you really think of it?
It's a very good engine. Some of the electrics are a bit complicated, but the actual engine itself is brilliant. It's got plenty of power. I don't think they've quite got it into the right models yet. They need to. All the shapes are. You've got the off-road one, which is quite tall, and they've got the Sportster S, which is pretty much a single person's bike. Once they've got it into a few more middle of the road bikes, I think it'll go very well.
Yeah, the new Nightster that has the Rev Max engine in, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's got the small one, the 975. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So, because I'd heard that there was going to be, I heard a little while ago that they were looking at 2 different sizes. Because I've ridden the Sportster S, which is an absolute weapon of a machine, incredible weapon. And I've ridden the Pan America, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do because I've got the inside leg of a 5-year-old. But surprisingly, I managed to get my leg over it and ride it as well. But you're saying there when it needs to be more middle of the road bikes. In your view, what do you mean by that?
Things like Sport Glides and the Softail range, at the moment they're all air cooled, which is great because that's the classic Harley engine. But at some point they're going to have to go water cooled. And I think once they get it into something that's a bit more classic looking, their sales of the RevTech engine would take Rev Max engine, got to call it the right one, would take off.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture a Heritage with a Rev Max engine in it.
Yeah, it's just how you get the radiators right, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Pan America, the new CVO. Tell me this: have you got one in the shop?
No, I've seen it online. It's absolutely stunning. I have to say that it's the best Pan America they've done. Really, kit already on it.
I fell in love with that. Whenever they launched the new range of bikes, the most recent video for me, the one that stuck out was the Pan Am. And ironically, kind of like Portland and Moggy, I prefer the more traditional type of bikes. Yeah. But I have to say that the CVO Pan America just looks like something else.
Yeah, the colours they've got spot on this year, I think, for that.
Yeah. And what about the new limited edition? Is it the Tobacco Fade? Are you getting any of those in?
We've had one at the end of last year, the black and orange. That was quite nice with that was the CVO Road Glide with the new dash. That dash is something else. It's out of Starship. It does absolutely everything. Yeah, you run your phone through it and bloody sat nav, everything you want. It's all there.
Yeah. And though, I mean, presumably the 2024 range that's just come out, are they all order only, or are you expecting some sort of fleet in for either demos or for the shop floor?
The CVO ones will be order only because they'll sell out pretty much straight away. The Road Glide ST and the Street Glide, they'll be on the showroom floor. There'll be demos in that with the new dash.
Brilliant. So, yeah. And presumably, if customers for you are wanting to get their leg over that and take it out, do they have to come in, or can they do it via your website? Do you know?
No, go by the website or through Harley Davidson's website. They can book a test ride and it all turns up. We put them in. Not a problem. We get them. So yeah.
Very good. Well, listen, Harvey, thank you very much for jumping on with us. Hopefully you'll have another good few years.
Yes.
They seem to move you around, but you refuse to leave.
Yeah. I'm getting nearer and nearer the door.
Yeah, oh, very good. And any aspirations of actually buying it one day and being the owner?
No, I'm quite happy just selling them.
Harvey's into scooters, Kenny.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, are they the ones that have like 5, 6, 7
mirrors?
Wing mirrors?
They can have. Mine don't, but yeah, you can have. But yeah, mine's old 1958, old girl. So
yeah, very good. But you know what? That's another culture in itself, isn't it? The scooter culture. You know, I know. In Harley Davidson, we think that we're sort of relatively unique and different, but we're not actually, are we? Because I think
it's just different. It's smaller wheels, but similar lifestyle.
Yeah, and do you guys have rallies and get-togethers and all that kind of stuff?
There was a rally last month in Germany called Meltdowns at a nuclear power station. That's a good one. And then there was Lanzarote. That was last month as well. So yeah, they're all over the world. New York's a good one if you ever get to go, or Vegas.
Right. I'm trying to picture 800 scooters rocking up to Pontins here saying, we want to hold a get-together.
That one there, didn't they? So where we have our cider rally, a few years ago, they did have a scooter rally there, didn't they? So so that Pontins takes everybody.
Yeah. Willicomb's a good one.
Yeah, Willicombe.
Yeah, so they're all over the place.
I'll have to have a look at that Meltdown at a nuclear plant. I like that.
It's just called Meltdown Scooter Rally. You look at it, it's absolutely nuts. It's got the big chimneys and everything. It's absolutely crazy.
Brilliant. Happy days. Harvey, listen, thanks very much for your time. I know you've got to get back there, but listen, congratulations on the big anniversary and best of luck with the obviously the franchise generally. There's been a lot of shift and uncertainty and closures, so hopefully that doesn't affect any of you guys and you just carry on. Helping people pick their Harley.
Absolutely, picking the right colour.
On the likes of the newer bikes, the Pan America and the Sportster, and I know that you've been involved since the 90s. What's your view on the new direction of the bikes? The non-soft tail style bikes. What do you think of those?
Well, I think it's like a lot of things. I think it's a necessary step for the company to take from a marketing point of view to enable survival of the company. Because there are only so many old souls like me that love the chrome, the old 50s look, the old bikes. There are people out there that are looking for a new bike and they might think that the BMW isn't for them or that the Yamaha isn't for them. So Harley is giving them another avenue to explore, which keeps the company going. It's a good thing. And it keeps that diversity going in the club itself and in the Harley Owners Group. You're going to have little factions now of people that are Pan-American owners. Yeah, they've probably got a page on Facebook, there might be more than one. But the point is that will grow out of that new market lead. It's the same when the V-Rod came along. You've got all the purists saying, oh, that's not a Harley. It doesn't even look like one. Yeah, but it was a necessary step because it appealed to a lot of sports bike owners. Suddenly we had people changing from Honda and Kawasaki over to Harley Davidson because they jump on a V-Rod and say, this thing really goes and it really handles. Whereas the other bikes were big and old and didn't do the same. They were the Shire horse. This thing's a racing pony. So suddenly you appeal to a new market. For me personally, I wouldn't want, some of the newer bikes in my garage because aesthetically they don't interest me. I don't like the look of this or that. The modern technology scares me a little because I have an engineering background and I do shy away from a lot of electronics. Saying that, I have a fuel-injected bike, but it's a very simple system. I understand what's happening, so I'm happy with it. But there's got to be a place for both. There's got to be a place for people like me that are prepared to get in the garage on a Saturday and dismantle this thing and disembowel it and put it back together again, feeling better that it works now. And those that don't want to do that, they just want to take it to the dealer and let them plug it in and tell them what's wrong with it.
What about you, Moggy? Would you, is there a Sportster S or a Nightster with your name on it?
Well, not... I mean, my first bike was a 2001 883 Sportster. Then I had the Sportster Low. And they were sort of like the pre-carburettor ones, I think. That's right. I still had a choke on them, let's put it like that. And I did love those. And I've got a Sport Glide at the minute and absolutely love that. So I'm more than happy with that at the minute. I like the Pan Am and not my thing, really. But if I had the money, I might. Who knows? If I had the money to buy a second Harley, then Who knows?
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. It's about being in the position to have both. If you gave me an endless budget and a huge hangar to keep them in, there'd be a lot of bikes in there that are not Harleys. You know, I love vintage bikes, I love racing bikes, I love dirt bikes. I'd have a whole raft of them if I had the money, the time, the space, etc. Yeah, sure I would. Case of saying, if you've never done the Cider Rally, put it on your calendar because it's a great first event of the year. It's a really friendly event. And I've got to say, in all the years I've done it, I've never had a rally where I've gone home thinking, I wish I hadn't done that. It's always the reverse. I'm always sad that Monday comes and I'm packing up and going home because it's such a great weekend of ending up with so many friends, people you know, and even people you don't know. You're on nodding terms with everyone by Monday because it's a nice little compact event and it really keeps that personal touch going. So if you've not done it, get out there and check it out quick before the tickets go.
Moggy, Portland, thank you very, very much for joining us today. We've covered all sorts there. The history of it, I could talk about all day, but I know I can't keep you all day. So what I'm going to do is below, probably coming up right now, or here, somewhere, there'll be a link that will take you straight through to exactly where you need to be on the Bridgewater website to secure your tickets, okay? If you have not been to the Cider Rally and you're looking to start your season off the right way, do not hesitate. It's as you've heard today, it's developed from a small gathering to what it is today. They're getting something right. So it's, you're very, very lucky at the moment, to be honest with you, to even have an opportunity to go and grab these tickets, because ordinarily you would have not a sniff. Yeah, if you've been toying with the idea, fortune favors the brave. Sod it, just do it. Deal with it later on. Okay. So I'll put all the links below. Jill, thank you for your time again. Lovely to see you. I know last time we were getting absolutely lashed on in Fields of Thunder, but it was nice to meet you. Portland, I'm sure that we'll meet in person at some point, but thank you so much for your time. And I appreciate the patience, because what is not included on this episode is the nearly an hour it took for us to actually make this happen. So this is it. Yeah, but well worth it. So thank you so much both, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny. See you.